Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Building a super empire, starting from North America. During the Kangxi period of the Qing Dynasty, overseas powers began the era of great navigation 100 years ahead of schedule, with rapid technological progress, extensive expansion, burning, killing, looting, and building one colony after another. At this time, the Ming Federation had already been established, and Zhu Shengkai had become a remnant of the Ming Dynasty in exile in Citi America, with uncertain circumstances. Awakening the development system of the super empire, tyrannizing strong enemies, rapidly expanding, vigorously developing military technology, initiating the Industrial Revolution, and rebuilding the Ming Empire in North America. Me Fedei. Stop fighting, got beaten. We just established our country. We're still a child, please keep your hand. Emperor Na3 said, congratulations to the global co-ruler, the great Emperor Ming. Neon. Your Majesty, it is an honor for us in this lifetime to be the dog of Dai Ming. Dai Qing Kangxi said, why? The remnants of the Ming Dynasty have already gone into exile, not only rebuilding empires in North America, but also being so powerful. How can we fight this? Unconsciously, when Zhu Shengkai turned around to look, he was already a promising person. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Super Empire Development System. Seeking Freshness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. P.S. This book should be rectified according to the editor's request. World time is basically fictional, and adjustments have been made, from the Xianfeng period in 1860 to the Kangxi period in 1712. Overseas countries began the era of great navigation 100 years earlier, so technology has made rapid progress. Except for the Qing Dynasty, the history of other countries in this book is around the mid-19th century, and it is announced in advance. P.S. Let's assume that at that time, except for the Qing Dynasty, all countries traveled back 100 years. P.S. It's not possible to make changes like this. Otherwise, the book will be gone. Zhu Shengkai woke up in a daze, feeling a dull pain in his head and a sharp pain in his back. What's going on? How could it hurt so much? Zhu Shengkai opened his eyes, and the first thing that caught his eye was a face. That is a feminine man's face. Long live. You finally woke up. The man who looked like a motherly cannon knelt in front of Zhu Shengkai and burst into tears, pulling his duck-like throat. Me. Long live. Zhu Shengkai was momentarily taken aback, then reacted. By the way, he was hit by a truck before, but now when he wakes up, there are still people calling him long live. He shouldn't have traveled through time, right? Suddenly, Zhu Shengkai felt as if he couldn't feel the pain anymore, very excited. What did this damn cannon call him just now? Long live, sir. If he really traveled through time, okay. He actually traveled through time and became an emperor. Ha ha ha, even Zhu Shengkai could cross over and become an emperor one day. However, it was not until Zhu Shengkai continued to be excited that he could see his current situation clearly. He was in a wooden room, surrounded not only by the woman and the man, but also by 20 or 30 other men. However, these people were all wearing dirty and worn-out short coats, and almost all of them were emitting hair that reached their shoulders. A group of people with disheveled faces, the more embarrassed they are, the more embarrassed they are. And on my own, I was dressed almost the same, and the one on the ground was not the Hualuo brocade quilt that Zhu Shengkai had imagined, but straw. What's the smell? Zhu Shengkai was in a daze when he suddenly smelled a smell. Is this smell like the stench of animal feces? Looking out through the gaps in the crowd, Zhu Shengkai suddenly realized that there was a row of horses on the other side of the house. Is this a stable? What kind of emperor am I? It's too tragic. I was actually in a stable. Zhu Shengkai's mood suddenly became desolate. He won't cross over into the body of a tragic emperor who has just fallen and been hunted down, will he? Long live. Let's compete with those foreigners. At this moment, a tall and burly man gritted his teeth and said to Zhu Shengkai. Foreigners. Zhu Shengkai was stunned again. In what era, how could this title still exist? Military generals, absolutely not. Now that we are in exile in Citi America, it is not easy to save our lives. Once Y has also been beaten like this by them. We cannot act recklessly. We can spare no effort, but Wan Ye's body is still injured. The woman cannon man immediately retorted. Zhu Shengkai next to him is becoming increasingly puzzled, Citi America. Foreigners. These words suddenly touched the heartstrings of Zhu Shengkai, and his already painful head suddenly became even more painful. A large amount of memories surged into Zhu Shengkai's mind like a tsunami. Zhu Shengkai covered his head and screamed in agony. Long live Lord! A circle of people immediately gathered around and nervously looked at Zhu Shengkai. After a moment, the intense pain subsided, and Zhu Shengkai accepted the memory and understood everything. He has indeed traveled through time. And his identity. He is the Emperor of the Ming Empire. Originally, this was supposed to be an extremely exciting news for him. But unfortunately, the reality is incredibly cruel. Because this is 1712 AD, the 51st year of the Kangxi reign of the Qing Dynasty, Zhu Shengkai was confused. Why is it that it has been 1712, 51 years since the Kangxi reign of the Qing Dynasty, and the Ming Dynasty is still here? Shouldn't it be in 1644 that the Ming Dynasty was conquered by Li Zicheng in Beijing, and Chongzhen hung himself from the old crooked neck tree and then died? 50 years ago, southern Ming was also destroyed by the Qing Dynasty. More than 30 years ago, Zheng Ming, who was surnamed Yi, was also destroyed by the Qing Dynasty. Dai Ming, there shouldn't be anyone left, right? And now in 1712, shouldn't Citi America be a wilderness? Zhu Shengkai was confused. But after he had sorted out his memories, he understood everything. Shit. I'm currently a Chinese worker at Citigroup America's Mimi Federation, right? Zhu Shengkai felt outrageous. It should be 1712, the 51st year of the Kangxi reign. Why was the Mi Federation established? He crossed the timeline before crossing. In history, wasn't the Mimi Federation established only in 1776? Zhu Shengkai carefully sorted out his memories and found that the timeline of the world was completely disrupted, and Western countries developed rapidly in technology. Therefore, 100 years earlier, the era of global colonization began. The Mi Federation in this world was not only established in 1776, but was established 148 years earlier in 1628. When the Mi Federation in this world was first established, Chongzhen of the Ming Dynasty had also just ascended the throne, which was in the first year of Chongzhen, when the Ming Dynasty was not yet dead. And now, if we calculate it this way, 84 years have passed since 1712, when the world's Mi Federation was founded in 1628. In fact, the history of the Mi Federation corresponds to the year 1860 of the Earth's previous life. There is still 1 year left, and it will soon be the civil war of the Mi Federation. And now in the Qing Dynasty, Kangxi was in power and closed off from the outside world, so it had no influence at all. The Qing Dynasty is still the same as Kangxi's Qing Dynasty. Originally, the Qing Dynasty could continue to develop unscathed, but due to changes in foreign time, as early as a few years ago, the Kangxi Qing Dynasty was bombarded by the cannons of the first invasion of Qing launched by Britain and France. In 1712, the 51st year of the Kangxi reign and the 84th year of the Chongzhen reign, this year's Qing Dynasty was once again blasted open by Western powers. This year marks the end of the second aggressive war between the British Sun and the French coalition against the Kangxi and Qing dynasties. Zhu Shengkai never expected that such an emperor would be such a worker emperor, who was even worse than a slave. And how did he come to Citi America in this world? It must be said that Zhu Shengkai's original cheap father, Zhu Yongyong. Zhu Shengkai and his father Zhu Yongyong are descendants of the orthodox Ming Dynasty. After the Battle of Jingnan, descendants of Emperor Jiangwen Zhu Yunwen who had fled overseas. Later on, as time passed and the storm passed, their group returned to the Ming Dynasty. I had a good time in my childhood. Originally, Zhu Shengkai and his team didn't plan on becoming emperors anymore. But later on, when the Manchus entered the country and the land sank, the angry ancestors of Zhu Shengkai secretly restored the imperial title, and it is unclear what their intentions were afterward. Surprisingly, he left the border with his family. Manchus enter the border, they leave, and a tactical change of home comes. Of course, the Qing Dynasty was unaware of their existence afterwards. Everything was fine and we settled down outside the pass. Then, decades passed like this. Zhu Yongyong, the father of Zhu Shengkai, was directing his servants to build a bridge over a small river one day when he unexpectedly dug up a stone man. At that moment, Zhu Yongyong remembered the various experiences of Zhu Yuanzhang, the ancestor of the old Zhu family. In an instant, Zhu Yongyong seemed to be possessed by Zhu Yuanzhang, and his heart ignited a fierce male flame. We have raised the banner of restoring the Ming Dynasty. I plan to use my own passion and the raging fire ignited from within to completely burn this great Qing Dynasty. At one point, a crowd of 100,000 people gathered in his hometown, and he shouted out the imperial title of his great Ming Emperor, announcing the renaming to Ming Long and the renaming of the Qing Dynasty's Kangxi 51st year and Chongzhen 84th year as the first year of Ming Long. Self-proclaimed Emperor Ming Long. Unfortunately, at this time, the Kangxi and Qing dynasties, although unable to deal with foreign countries such as Britain, were full of martial arts virtues and launched heavy attacks domestically. The uprising led by Zhu Yongyong, with a loud voice and small raindrops, directly proclaimed himself emperor and attracted a large army from the Qing dynasty to suppress the situation. It was quickly annihilated. Zhu Yongyong, the cheap father of Zhu Shengkai, died in battle on the spot. Only Zhu Shengkai escaped under the protection of dozens of golden guards. I wanted to escape overseas, but was caught by foreigners. Dozens of people were sold to the west coast of Citigroup America and became railway workers. $200 each, cheaper than black slaves. Naturally there is no possibility of receiving any good treatment. So, Zhu Shengkai, who survived on the west coast of the Mizumi Federation, ascended the throne with the support of eunuch Wei Xian, General Wu Ji, and dozens of genie guards. Rongding Datong. Zhu Shengkai thus became the newly appointed emperor of the Ming Dynasty. Then one day, Zhu Shengkai, the emperor, accidentally stumbled and was hit on the head by the falling railway tracks while working on the railway tracks. With a dead end, it is precisely like this that Zhu Shengkai, a young man of the 21st century, has traveled through his time. Southern Ming has been dead for 50 years, and Chongzhen has been hanging from that old crooked neck tree for 68 years. How could I cross over at this time? Zhu Shengkai felt a bit hopeless. At that moment, he suddenly realized that there seemed to be some fonts floating in front of him. Welcome to the Empire Development System, Reward. Beginner Gift Pack X1. Name. Zhu Shengkai, Identity. Emperor of the Ming Empire, Age. 21, do you want to open the beginner gift package? You can silently recite and communicate with the system in your heart. Zhu Shengkai was surprised, this is his own golden finger. He was just a burst of ecstasy. Open. Open the beginner gift pack. Without hesitation, Zhu Shengkai silently recited in his heart. Open the beginner gift pack. Congratulations to your Majesty for achieving comprehensive physical fitness enhancement and language proficiency rewards. Congratulations to your Majesty for obtaining 1,000 elite royal guards. The royal guards will arrive in batches and can now directly summon a royal guard with a total flag, 50 people. Congratulations to your Majesty for obtaining the complete set of hydroelectric power plant buildings, which can be directly realized. Congratulations to Your Majesty for obtaining a set of fully automated manufacturing production lines for Lee Enfield rifles. Comes with some raw materials, including steel, wood, smokeless powder, resin, alloy copper, etc., which can be directly implemented for installation. Zhu Shengkai's heart was filled with ecstasy. It is truly a beginner's gift pack. Too strong. At that moment, the door was suddenly kicked open, and 3 fierce white angers walked in, holding whips, wearing cowboy hats, leather jackets, and gun belts hanging from their waists. P.S. Looking for flowers, looking for evaluation tickets. Chapter 2. Kill these white angers. Seeking freshness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You pigs. Despicable yellow monkeys, hurry up and get to work. A white Anglican whip was raised, making a loud explosion in the air, and then it was whipped towards Wei Xian. The other 2 Anglo-Saxon white people raised their ears as usual, ready to enjoy the screams of these yellow-skinned monkeys. But to their surprise, there was no sound afterwards. You. The Anglican white man holding the whip looked at Zhu Shengkai, who was holding the whip out of thin air and blocking him in front of him, both shocked and angry. I don't want to live anymore, do I? It seems like I didn't hit you enough before. The Anglican white man gave a fierce smile. After Zhu Shengkai's body was hit on the head by the railway tracks and died, the white supervisor at the time, Angsa, thought that Zhu Shengkai was lazy and went to whip him hard. This is also the reason why Zhu Shengkai has just traveled here and not only has a headache, but also a burning pain in his back. Afterwards, the Angsa white man did not react to Zhu Shengkai and did not want to touch the body of the yellow-skinned monkey that he thought was dirty, nor did he know that Zhu Shengkai's original body had already died at that time. Let someone carry Zhu Shengkai away and take him to the stable. Now that Zhu Shengkai is awake, they are urging people to work again. You can give it a try. Zhu Shengkai held the whip and sneered. After system enhancement, far surpassing these white people, his height of 1.85 meters, combined with his now cold and stern face, has a great deterrent power. The 3 white people in front of me, 2 of whom are lower in height than 1.65 meters. Only the one facing Zhu Shengkai directly is slightly higher, but it is only 1.69 meters. Caucasians are not naturally tall. In this era, in Europe and America, the average height is only 1.6 meters. In the past life of Earth, white people were only tall during the period before and after World War II. With further advancement in technology and increased productivity, they had more and sufficient nutrition. It was only after the improvement of those 2 or 3 generations that they were able to climb up. What if you're tall? No matter how tall you are, you're just an uncivilized monkey. You have the courage to kneel down and lick my boots while I'm in a good mood now. It is obvious that due to his previous experience of hitting Zhu Shengkai, this white man is not very afraid. Not only is he not afraid, but he also spat a mouthful of phlegm on the surface of his boots. Although he looked up at Zhu Shengkai due to his height, he still said with a contemptuous expression, "Kneel down and lick quickly. Don't you Qing people just like to kneel down when they meet someone?" Zhu Shengkai's heart was filled with an unnamed fire. Qing Dynasty people. Although it is now 1712 and most people in later generations believe that the Qing Dynasty was not yet in decline in theory, in fact, the Qing Dynasty began to decline since entering the country. If it weren't for the later reforms of Longxing, the Qing Dynasty would have been over as early as Kangxi. And now in this world, because the timeline is completely different from the previous Earth. Western countries began the era of great navigation 100 years ahead of schedule, with rapid technological advancements. Therefore, the current Kangxi and Qing dynasties encountered the treatment of the later Qing dynasty. Just this year, the British Empire and the Gallic Empire of France forcefully opened the doors of the Kangxi and Qing dynasties. The Qing dynasty has already signed unequal treaties that humiliate the country. Even if it was 100 years earlier, everyone in the world still knows. Qing people are people without a backbone. Qinghua people are the most cowardly people. Starting from this year, people from all countries around the world also became aware of the cowardice of the Qing Dynasty. They then rushed to the Qing Dynasty in a hurry. Be a foreigner, be a foreigner. In the history of Zhu Shengkai's original world, there was a Qing Dynasty when the land of Shenzhou sank for 300 years. The Qing Dynasty poisoned the land of China, leaving an impact on the entire world that even lasted until the 21st century. Even in the 21st century, many people in Zhu Shengkai's later generations regarded white people as foreigners. Humiliation, this is an immense humiliation. But now in this world, China has been sinking for 68 years. Although the Qing Dynasty's enslavement policy has been implemented for 2 or 3 generations, there is still hope. Now, Zhu Shengkai is here. Whatever comes to our house. Wei Xian, as a very loyal eunuch of Zhu Shengkai, was about to run forward and kneel down to beg for mercy. They have been here for quite some time, and they all understand some English to some extent. Because they were used to being oppressed during this period, the rest of the people were also panicked and had to kneel on the ground. Upon seeing this, Zhu Shengkai hated that iron was not made of steel. His sharp eyes widened in anger and he roared, "I see who dares to kneel." Suddenly, this roar startled everyone. Wu Ji, Wei Xian, and others looked at Zhu Shengkai, who seemed to have changed into a different person. Zhu Shengkai stopped the crowd behind him and turned his head to look down at the white man who was one head lower than him, gradually exerting force on the whip in his hand. A pair of eyes fixed on him gradually became cold. Zhu Shengkai said to the white man in pure English, word by word, "From this moment on, the world will change." What? The 3 white people in front of them were all stunned. They couldn't help but feel a hint of panic in their hearts when facing the eyes of Zhu Shengkai. It's like they're not facing a tall young man, but a huge dragon. With a cold gaze and exposed fangs, he stared fiercely at their evil dragon. "You want to die?" The white man facing Zhu Shengkai panicked, and he reached out to his waist in panic, wanting to draw a gun. Zhu Shengkai's eyes flickered with a cold light and his hand, which had been holding the whip, suddenly pulled. On the other side, the white man holding the whip felt a huge force pulling him. The whole body collapsed directly towards Zhu Shengkai. And Zhu Shengkai held a long enough whip in both hands and directly used it to wrap around the neck of the white Angsa man who was leaning towards him. In an instant, the white Angsa man reached out in immense pain to grab his neck. Struggling, his face turned purple-blue, and suffocation was extremely painful. Ah! At the moment when Zhu Shengkai started, Wu Ji suddenly roared and, relying on his huge height advantage, rushed directly towards the remaining 2 white people who were only 1.6 meters tall. These 2 white people are less than 1.65 meters tall. Zhu Shengkai and Wu Ji all came from the northern part of the Qing Dynasty. Whether it is now or in future generations, northerners are the tallest in stature. In several northern provinces, the highest average height is over 1.69 meters, basically 1.7 meters. At that time, the people of the Qing Dynasty, especially those from the north, were not low. Zhu Shengkai and other people came from wealthy families, so their height was naturally not low. And looking at old photos of the 8-nation alliance in the past, it can be seen that at that time, the Qing soldiers were generally half a head taller than foreign soldiers, even 1 head, but their bodies were eroded by the smoke, and they were as thin as numb poles. The average height of southerners is relatively low, but the lowest is similar to the contemporaries of the European powers, such as the Zabanya and Putea, with an average height of about 1.62 meters as the commander-in chief of the royal guards, appointed by Zhu Shengkai's father. Wu Ji relied on his tall stature, which was greatly different from that of ordinary people. He is 1.98 meters tall, almost 2 meters. He is a well-deserved strong man. In earlier years, he was a fierce general wearing heavy armor and charging into battle. Although I have suffered and lost a lot on the construction site in Citi America during this period, my foundation is still strong. Wu Ji, who was nearly 2 meters tall, rushed over like a wild bear. You can imagine the feeling of seeing a giant man who is 2 or more heads taller than you rushing towards you in a frenzy. This sense of oppression and intimidation. After Wu Ji rushed up, the others also followed closely and rushed up. After all, it was a rebellion. Although it was enslaved by people in North America for a period of time, it did not completely smooth out the edges. At this moment, I burst into action and rushed straight up. And this room is not big, and it's not even small. However, dozens of people and livestock crowded together to sleep, and the originally spacious space became crowded. The remaining 2 white people were directly restrained without even having time to pull out their guns. Rebellion. The yellow-skinned monkeys have rebelled. A restrained white man shouted with heart-wrenching cries. This is a stable, but the surroundings are also residential areas. It's not big, there are also other slave miners living in several other houses, about 200 to 300 people. And the guards are more than 10 white people with guns. It's still lunchtime now, and most of the other white guards are also in this area. With such a loud voice, other white guards also rushed over with revolvers or mini rifles. I will be outside this house soon. Long live, what should we do now? Wei Xian panicked when he saw the white guards outside the house preparing to charge inside. Novice task release. Restore free body. As the pioneer of the Ming Empire, you first need a free identity to kill all these arrogant white people in front of you. Reward. 500 war points, x1 lucky draws. Chapter 3. Let them cut their braids, keep their hair but not their hair. You are listening at novel.Audio. Don't go out yet, take their guns. Taking hostages. Zhu Shengkai immediately spoke to the others while shouting in English outside, I see who dares to come in. We have 3 hostages in our hands, dare to approach. As Zhu Shengkai spoke, a white Angsa man happened to take a step closer to the door. He exerted force with both hands directly. Click. The whip smashed the white man's neck. Don't move. Suddenly, the other white guards were frightened. Everyone stood at the door, afraid to go any further. And Zhu Shengkai looked at them all standing at the door and smiled. You despicable Qingchong can even laugh. I advise you to release Sam and Jackson quickly. Otherwise, you have no way to survive. More than 10 white guards were all standing at the door with guns, and the person standing at the front cursed at Zhu Shengkai. Long live, what should we do now? Wu Ji whispered anxiously beside him. He is not afraid of battle, nor is he afraid of death, but what he is afraid of is what damage his long-lived grandfather Zhu Shengkai will suffer. It's not urgent. Zhu Shengkai glanced at Wu Ji and then gave a somewhat eerie smile to the white people outside the house, saying, Do you have any last words? What? Not only the white people outside were confused, but even the people in the room were also confused. It's over, Wan Suiyi has lost his mind and gone crazy. Wei Xian's legs trembled with fear. Are you crazy? The white man outside was about to ask this question, but suddenly he heard rumors behind him. Hoo. Ah. Ah. This gust of wind, mixed with blood, accompanied by several simultaneous screams. What? The remaining white people reacted and quickly turned around. But what they saw was the blade that shimmered with cold light under the sunlight. Too close. The scorching sun shines high in the sky, and the cold blades wave on the earth. Blood sprayed and screams kept rising. There were 1 or 2 gunshots mixed in. This. Wu Ji and others inside the room were already dumbfounded. They stared in amazement at the white corpses lying on the ground outside, as well as the brocade guard standing outside the door, holding blood-stained embroidered spring knives, dressed in flying fish suits, covered in darkness and crowded with people. Finally here we are, my Ming Dynasty's royal guards." And Zhu Shengkai left the white corpse in his hand and walked out. The royal guards. This, long live Lord, this. Wu Ji and others looked at each other in amazement. Aren't they the last only seedlings of the Ming Dynasty? See your Majesty. As Zhu Shengkai walked out of the house, the genie guards outside the door, stained with blood, knelt on one knee in front of Zhu Shengkai and said in unison. "Free gift." Zhu Shengkai waved his hand. "I apologize for the delay in your rescue. Please punish me, your Majesty." The chief flag officer led by the genie Wei refused to get up and bowed his head. "You still have a task. There are other workers in this mining area, some are white, but some are also Han Chinese. Go kill all the white workers, don't let any of them run away. If the remaining Han workers are willing to cut their braids, bring them along. If they don't want to cut their braids, execute them on the spot." Zhu Shengkai said coldly. "Keep your head, don't keep your hair, keep your hair, don't keep your head." This was also a cruel order issued during the reign of Jiannu in the land of China, but now, Zhu Shengkai is just the opposite. This railway construction site is not very large and belongs to a rest area. Nearly 200 workers, an armed team of over a dozen white people, and several accommodation houses. That's it all. There are over 100 other workers, some white and more Han. Yes, there are also white workers on the railway, mostly Kate Alan white, and they are also the lowest in the white discrimination chain. But ultimately, they are also white, and these workers are more like working people. In contrast, Han Chinese people like Zhu Shengkai who were sold here were treated like slaves. Other Han people, unlike Zhu Shengkai and others, all have braids. Usually, they regard Zhu Shengkai and others without braids as ferocious beasts. Even during normal work hours, these Han Chinese workers cherish the ugly, money rat-tailed braids behind their heads. Make Zhu Shengkai feel nauseous. Due to the battle, the other workers hid in their houses and dared not come out, which saved the time for the royal guards to find people. The genie guards left with knives, while Wu Ji and others picked up the guns that had fallen from the white corpses on the ground. They are the henchmen arranged by me. Listening to the screams and pleading in English behind him, Zhu Shengkai turned to Wu Ji and other humanists. Long live Lord is really a clever plan, we cannot reach it. Eunuch Wei Xian knelt down first and shouted at Zhu Shengkai. As soon as the others saw Wei Xian kneeling, they all quickly wanted to kneel, taking advantage of this time to show loyalty again and flatter him. Unexpectedly, Wei Xian's flattery this time ended up on the horse's lap. Zhu Shengkai's face darkened, but he said, "Did I say that kneeling is not allowed anymore? Free of charge for all. Now, it's a brand new era, so we must make all the changes. From now on, abolish the kneeling ceremony. Except for parents who kneel in heaven and earth, nothing else is allowed to kneel. Do you understand?" Zhu Shengkai said in a deep voice to everyone. "So, then, long live Lord, how can we bow and only bow in the future?" Wei Xian stood up from the ground with a bitter face and asked. "I want to create a brand new Ming Dynasty. It's here in Citi America. So, the etiquette standards must also follow the new ones. Bowing and bowing are both possible, but when you followed your father in the puppet state of Qing, you were all soldiers. Naturally, we should follow military etiquette." Zhu Shengkai said to everyone. "Military gift. Long live, how should this military gift be?" Wu Ji asked a bit foolishly beside him. Zhu Shengkai pondered and then made a gesture. He clenched his right hand and placed it on his left heart, lightly hammering it 3 times. He said, clenching his right hand and placing it on his left heart represents respect from the bottom of his heart, with a heavy hammer. "Sacrifice your heart to Emperor Ming, that's it." Zhu Shengkai was talking nonsense. Of course, Zhu Shengkai did not mention the sentence, sacrificing heart, later on, but it is still a current one. Immediately, everyone else followed Zhu Shengkai's lead and started learning, which was not difficult. Creating military gifts has spread to 29 people and earned 29 cultural values. At the end of the battle, calculate the number of kills and obtain a war value of 127 points, one person counts 1 point. Novice task, obtain free body, kill the white Angsa task has been completed, reward war value of 500, and draw once. The sound of the system sounded, and the royal guards should have completed Zhu Shengkai's task. But Zhu Shengkai's eyes lit up and he actually received a reward for his cultural value. It seems that this creation military gift is really right. After all the royal guards come back, let them all learn. Post-Feilu tasks. Establish a foundation. To restore the Ming Dynasty, you must have your own territory as your foundation. Task rewards. War value of 1,000, culture value of 1,000, and 1 lottery draw. Chapter 4. Indian Tribes and Leaping Horse Tribes. You are listening at novel full.audio. Zhu Shengkai took a look at the follow-up tasks, and this is not urgent for now. The urgent task now is to leave this railway work area first. Zhu Shengkai stayed in this railway area, which belonged to a person named Roba who never set the sun. As a capitalist, Roba wanted money and guns. However, due to unknown reasons, Roba is not on the railway now. The current Zhu Shengkai is not strong enough. He needs to leave here first, find a place to live and develop first. Zhu Shengkai also asked someone to take away all 10 or so horses from the stable, without taking them for free. For many years, white people have invaded Citi America and indiscriminately carried out massacres against these indigenous peoples of Citi America. Initially, white colonizers had already arrived in Citi America for colonization in 1309. More than 100 years earlier than the original history of Zhu Shengkai. The earliest people were from Spain. At that time, there were countless Native Americans in the entire land of Citi America, with 50 million Native Americans in the former Aztec Empire within the borders of Mexico alone. How many true Native Americans can there be? Over 100 million. No one can say for sure. By 1712, after more than 400 years of hunting by white colonizers, there were less than 1 million Native Americans within the territory of the Mia Federation. There are probably less than 10 million Native Americans in the entire Americas. Even today, white colonizers continue to drive and erode the Native Americans and land west of the Mississippi River. Is it right in front? Yes, Ling Mao. The mining area is right ahead, and there are not only those white people inside, but also some people who are very similar to us. It should be suitable as our goal. Outside the mining area, there is a team of hundreds of Native Americans. These Native Americans are wrapped in fur, their faces are painted with colorful oil, and some have various feathers on their heads as crowns. We should let these white people know that even if a man dies, the remaining women are excellent warriors who can ride horses and shoot arrows. The young girl, whose face was painted with oil, couldn't see the specific appearance clearly, but her eyes were very agile, said to the other Native Americans. It can be seen that this is a young girl, not very old. This Native American team is very unique. Because they are all women. There is no man. Jumping Horse Tribe. It is a Native American tribe living in the Great Basin of California. Originally, the size of the Jumping Horse Tribe was not small, with a population of 400 to 500. But due to a previous white armed forces raid on them, all men of the Jumping Horse Tribe were killed. Only these women are left to escape. The current leader of the Jumping Horse Tribe is the daughter of the previous leader, a spirit cat. The naming convention of Native Americans is like this, naming after various animals. A girl named after a spirit cat should not have become a warrior. But the blood feud against the white colonizers made this Indian girl a warrior. Now, they not only need to launch a surprise attack on the mining area ahead. In addition to the raid, there is another task, which is to plunder as many Han people as possible. Well, these Indian women don't know what the word Han means. They only know that Han people are people with similar appearance characteristics to them. Unlike those white colonizers. As for the purpose of robbing the Han people, it is naturally for the reproduction of the ethnic group. Other Native American tribes around died and fled in the last white armed raid. Only they are left. And they cannot be with white invaders. Naturally, they found Han Chinese people who looked very similar to them. They set off. However, when they entered the mining area, they saw a mining area full of corpses. What's going on? The spirit cat rode a horse, with only a pair of agile and beautiful eyes visible on its painted face. At this moment, there was a doubt in these eyes. This mining area has been attacked, and these people are all knife wounds. An Indian female soldier dismounted and examined the body. A knife wound. Is it from another tribe? Did they leave any traces? Even though the spirit cat thought of this, she was not excited because although Native Americans are collectively referred to as Native Americans, they are actually divided into many types. They are also internally disharmonious. They belong to a branch of the Yoket people, and even the Yoket people are divided into 10 tribes, big, small, and small. Yes, they're heading west. Follow up and take a look. Roaming and rumbling. A few miles west of the Loba mining area, Zhu Shengkai is leading his team forward in search of a place that can serve as a base. Suddenly, he felt the ground seem to be shaking. Not far away, there was also a rumbling sound of horse hooves. Not good, did Roba's people catch up? Zhu Shengkai felt uneasy and wanted to command the person to immediately hide. But it's too late. I saw 100 or 200 Native Americans riding horses, covered in fur and painted with various oils, rushing towards me. They were very fast and had already surrounded Zhu Shengkai and others. The commander-in-chief of the Genie Guard of the northern town governor, the mighty General Wu Daji, and a group of Genie Guards immediately became vigilant. The royal guards drew their swords to guard them. Native Americans. Zhu Shengkai was taken aback, not a white cavalry. And soon, Zhu Shengkai discovered something wrong. These Native Americans who surround them are all women, not a single man. Why are all women? According to Zhu Shengkai's impression, whether it's horseback riding for war or hunting, Native Americans should be men coming out, while women are at home. Just as Zhu Shengkai was puzzled, the female Indian on horseback led by him spoke in English. Now that you are surrounded by us, don't try to resist. We won't harm you. The spirit cat on horseback looked at the people surrounded by them. Although these people look similar to them in appearance, they are not from other Indian tribes. But it was always better than those white people, and immediately she perked up and continued. We won't harm you, you have already been captured by us. Now, take them all away. With these men as livestock, our jumping horse tribe will definitely give birth to healthier children. The other Indian female warriors cheered. Upon hearing this, Zhu Shengkai was shocked. Although these Indian women communicate in tribal languages. But Zhu Shengkai, who has a systematic existence, is fully proficient in the language. What kind of situation is this? The female Native Americans robbed them and treated them like livestock, asking them for scriptures and giving birth to children. Did the husbands of female Native Americans all be snatched? The idea flashed through Zhu Shengkai's mind, but it was quickly eliminated by him. No, there should be some hidden information. Long live, forgive me for daring to ask, what's wrong with these barbarians? Wei Xian whispered next to Zhu Shengkai, saying that he couldn't understand the language of the Native Americans. Wei Daban, these Indian women are taking us away as husbands. Zhu Shengkai swallowed his saliva and said. What? Is there still such a situation? Wu Ji was shocked. Wei Xian, on the other hand, calmly glanced down at him, and then his eyes showed a hint of desolation. The second Feilu Novel task has been released. In the Empire, there should be no only men, but a balance between men and women must be achieved. Due to the war against white people, all men have died, leaving only women in the jumping horse tribe. Reward a cultural value of 500 and draw once. At this moment, the sound of the system appeared. P.S. Looking for flowers, looking for evaluation tickets. Has anyone seen this type of thing? You are listening at novel.Audio. The new book sets sail, and no one has written this type of Feilu yet, so the author has no confidence in it. If readers like it, please support this book as much as possible. Put in more flowers, get some review votes, and just leave more comments. The author won't follow any rules such as flowers, evaluation tickets, rewards, and updates here. If the data in this book is good, then the author updates it 7 times a day. Even if the data is average, as long as it can be seen, it is still at least 5 o'clock every day. How much can the author update, whether it's 5 or 7, depends on the data support from readers. The author thanks you here. Chapter 5. We are fellow countrymen of the same origin. You are listening at novel.Audio. The task released by the system coincides with some of his ideas. Now, on the entire land of the Mi Federation, the total number of Native Americans combined is only a few 100,000. But this is still a considerable quantity. And now Zhu Shengkai's Great Ming, including the upcoming arrival of 1,000 genie guards, has a population of only over 1,000. The population is still too small. And Zhu Shengkai also sorted it out based on various information. It is now 1712. The history of countries around the world has been advanced by over 100 years. If we consider 1712 as 1860. So, by the way, the Civil War and Civil War in the Mimi Federation will break out in April next year. And in this civil war, the total number of troops from both the north and south of the Federated States of Mi exceeded 3 million. Conservatively speaking, in this era, the population of the entire Mi Federal Republic should be over 30 million people. It is naturally impossible for Zhu Shengkai to shake the entire Mi Federal country with just over 1,000 people in the next few days. So, Zhu Shengkai needs to unite everyone who can be united. Who is the priority goal of unity on the land of Citigroup America? Nature is not white, but yellow-skinned Native Americans. Seeing themselves surrounded, the royal guards instinctively pulled out their embroidered spring knives from their waists. Walala was a dazzling sight, with the snowy blade exposed to the air. Wu Ji and others also lifted the revolver and mini rifle they had picked up from the white corpse in their hands. Suddenly, the atmosphere on the field became tense and tense. The Indian female soldiers also looked at Zhu Shengkai and his group not only unkindly. When it comes to the number of people, they are not much more than Zhu Shengkai. They all have horses and occupy mobility. Cat, what should we do now? It seems like they won't follow us obediently. If we start fighting, we can't take advantage of it. An Indian female warrior said to the nearby spirit cat. The spirit cat is also very hesitant. For the current situation, neither side will benefit from fighting, as her tribe has less than 200 members left. Efforts should also be made to avoid disputes. The face painted with oil paint didn't show any expression, but the pair of very agile and beautiful eyes repeatedly looked at the tall and handsome Zhu Shengkai. She has a crush on Zhu Shengkai. And for this situation, Ling Mao was also a bit nervous in her heart. This was also her first time as a leader, leading people out. I encountered such a situation. Before the spirit cat could speak, Zhu Shengkai waved his hand and said, "Put down all your weapons. They are our compatriots, not those white slave owners. They are our compatriots." The first sentence is meant for the Jini Wei, such as Wu Ji, to hear in Chinese. The second sentence is meant for these Indian female warriors to hear in the language of their Indian tribes. Compatriots. The group of royal guards are somewhat unclear. They all looked at the Indian female warriors, dressed in animal skins, but also with large patches of healthy and beautiful skin falling outside. Like them, they are all yellow race people. Not white. And the Indian female warriors were even more shocked. The spirit cat stared at Zhu Shengkai with bright eyes and asked in surprise, "Why do you know the language of our tribe?" Native Americans are divided into many types. The Lingmao tribe belongs to the Yoket people. There are different languages among each Indian race. Even among different tribes of the same Yoket people, there may be slight differences in their languages. Even if the Native Americans themselves sometimes can't figure it out, how could this Han person in front of them know? Of course, the spirit cat is not clear about the concept of Han people. She only knows that Zhu Shengkai in front of her is very similar to the Native Americans. Because like us, we are fellow countrymen, all from the Far East. We are the same root and source of existence. Zhu Shengkai has a systematic proficiency in language, so it is natural for him to speak the language of the Native Americans. Same root and same origin. How could it be possible? Some Indian female warriors do not believe it. Zhu Shengkai pointed to his own skin and said, "So why are we all the same skin color and different from those white people?" Upon hearing Zhu Shengkai mention this, those Indian female soldiers hesitated again. Yes, it's obvious that they're not Native Americans. In Native American perception, only Native Americans have this kind of skin color, not those bloody and cruel white slave owners. Seeing them wavering, Zhu Shengkai increased his strength and said, "We come from the Ming Empire in the Far East. I am the Emperor of the Ming Empire, carrying a miracle." The Ming Empire had a vast territory and a population of tens of thousands. I brought people to Citi America this time to search for our fellow countrymen who share the same roots and origins as us. After research by scholars from the Ming Empire, it was found that about 15,000 years ago, a group of our compatriots from the land of China crossed the ocean and arrived in Citi America. Finally, through evolution and reproduction, we became you. Zhu Shengkai casually talked nonsense. Of course, he is not entirely nonsense. After studying the Earth in the 21st century, scholars believe that Native Americans did indeed roam from Asia to Citi America 15,000 years ago. And these Native Americans are still in primitive times, so they naturally wouldn't understand this. But the spirit cat wavered. Even the Native Americans don't know how they appeared in this world. Although they don't know, there are myths and legends about wizards. In mythology and legend, 15,000 years ago, the heavens and the earth shattered, and disasters came to the world. Their ancestors crossed the ocean and came from one paradise to another. This is a mythological legend of the Yoket people. In theory, most normal people do not believe in myths and legends. However, this era was in 1712, corresponding to 1860 in later generations, on the eve of the American Civil War. Not only were they, but even white people were ignorant. Myths, religions, legends, there are too many people blindly believing and superstitious about this. Even in the 21st century, in the era of science, there are still many people who are superstitious and believe in the theory of ghosts and gods. Not to mention that 1860, when science was not yet apparent, was still in the ignorant and barbaric era of bloody colonization. Now, what Zhu Shengkai said happened to align with the legend of the Yoket people. This made the Native Americans somewhat waver. To show my sincerity, I am willing to lay down my weapons and follow you back to your tribe to showcase my miracles. Zhu Shengkai stood with his hands down, his handsome face smiling. He is naturally not afraid. Because the system just prompted him that the second batch of royal guards can be prepared to descend. The number of people is 4 flags. 200 people. Chapter 6. Rich Resources, Land of Longxing. You are listening at novel.Audio. He could certainly use force to subdue the Indian tribe in front of him, which had less than 200 female warriors. But to subdue by force is ultimately unpopular. And there will be casualties. Faced with Zhu Shenkai's demeanor, There was a commotion among the Indian female soldiers. Weapons are extremely important for Indian soldiers, especially for Native Americans who have no industrial foundation, do not know how to make iron or steel, and cannot produce them. They are as important as life. Now, the man in front of him who claims to be the Emperor of the Ming Empire is willing to lay down his weapon and follow them. Is everything he says true? Why does a person from another continent thousands of miles away know the language of their own tribe? This problem troubles them. But if he really came with a miracle, it's not strange to know their language. Clan leader, are you really going to take them back? Although they said they would lay down their weapons, they are still over 100 strong men. Although we are more than them, we are all women. A nearby Indian female warrior whispered to the spirit cat, with a hint of concern in her words. Our tribe is already in a semi-extinct state. It's all because of those cruel white people. If what this man is saying is true, he is really an emperor of an empire, then. The spirit cat said, gritting its silver teeth tightly, even if we rely on them, we can still seek revenge against those white people. Their tribe was slaughtered by white people, and all men were killed. Even children as young as 5 or 6 years old had their scalp cut off by white people. They are the only women left in the entire tribe. Ling Mao knew that it was impossible for them to seek revenge against those white slave owners solely on their own. For a spirit cat, she doesn't understand what an empire is, nor does she understand the concept of an emperor. I don't understand what Zhu Shengkai said about the concept of countless people of the Ming Dynasty. According to her understanding, what Zhu Shengkai said about the Ming Dynasty should be another indigenous tribe on another continent. Although Native Americans are primitive, barbaric, and backward, their essence is kindness. In the 16th century, when the first group of hippocampus colonizers landed in Citi America, the kind-hearted indigenous people selflessly helped them and saved their lives. But what was it in exchange for? It was a bloody massacre and cruel plunder by white colonizers. In theory, people should learn from their lessons. But faced with Zhu Shengkai, who had the same skin color as himself, rather than those white people, the spirit cat ultimately wavered. Okay, as long as you don't do anything dangerous, you can come back with us. Ling Mao faced Zhu Shengkai and ultimately said. Upon hearing these words, Zhu Shengkai smiled. He said to Wu Ji, put away your weapons, let's go with them. Long live, is it so easy to just leave with these barbarians? Wei Xian was somewhat puzzled. Hey, just to be careful, what kind of barbarians? They are like us, from the same root and source, they are descendants of the Qing Dynasty. Zhu Shengkai said directly. Descendants of the Qing Dynasty. This sentence directly confused Wei Xian, Wu Ji, and others. How come another descendant of the Qing Dynasty has emerged? Although they were puzzled, this was Zhu Shengkai's order, and they could only obey. Also, Wu Ji. Do you want a wife or not? Zhu Shengkai asked. Ah. Long live, this. Wu Ji was confused. Zhu Shengkai said directly to the group of genie guards, they are the wives I have found for you. Don't be afraid. A group of brocade guards looked at the female Native Americans. Their faces were painted with oil, and it was unclear what they looked like, but their figures were quite good, and their skin was also a healthy wheat color. Afterwards, Zhu Shengkai peacefully led his people back with these Indian female warriors. He is not at all nervous. The genie guards, who were unaware of the situation, put away their weapons all the way, appearing suspicious. What, suddenly it turned into finding a wife for them. Does Wan Suiyi personally want to arrange their marriage? Zhu Shengkai leisurely rode his horse and followed these Indian female warriors back. Heading east, I walked into a dense forest. In this era, Citi America had vast areas of primitive undeveloped land. Zhu Shengkai didn't know how far he had walked, but after thinking about it, riding a horse for 1 or 2 hours, he should still be able to walk for 20 or 30 miles. In this primitive undeveloped dense forest, there is an open space above it. Zhu Shengkai saw a primitive tribe. This primitive tribe is nestled by mountains and water, backed by a large mountain, and next to it is a small river. It should belong to the coastal mountain range on the west coast of Citi America. There are no houses in this tribe, only triangular tents made of animal skins and leather. The living conditions are very primitive and backward. Discovering a suitable place for construction, is this designated as a construction target? The system prompt suddenly rings. Zhu Shengkai carefully examined this tribe. It was good, it was very good. By the mountains and by the water. We are currently detecting mineral deposits in the mountains and have discovered various types of minerals including coal, iron, copper, nickel, uranium, lead, and zinc. We are testing the mountain forest resources and have discovered tree resources such as Douglas fir, giant golden needle cypress, Nootka cypress, sugar maple, pine, redwood, and hemlock. We are testing water resources and have discovered a river that belongs to the tributary of the Los Angeles River, with abundant fish and fishery resources. Zhu Shenkai's eyes lit up completely. This place, Nima's, is a treasure trove of feng shui. Moreover, Citi America is truly Citi America, with incredibly abundant natural resources. The forest area of Citi America accounts for 18% of the world's forest area, and the grassland area accounts for 11% of the world's grassland area. And in the western part of Citi America, the fishing grounds on the west coast can account for 20% of the world's fishing grounds. This not only makes Zhu Shengkai marvel, but also the people of Nima and Mi Federation really occupy an excellent place. This place is rich in various mineral resources, and in the future, agriculture, industry, fisheries, and other aspects will be very developed. It's really a pity to give to those bloody colonizers, slave owners, and white people. It's just a waste. The entire Citi America of the future belongs to the Ming Empire. This is the land of Longxing in the future Ming Dynasty. The system has designated this place as a construction site and is preparing to start concretizing the 2 buildings I currently hold. Wait a moment, it's time for the miracle to be revealed. Zhu Shenkai's heart is full of grandeur. Chapter 7 Miracles. Realistic Power Plant. Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Clan leader, who are they? Is it a warrior from another tribe? The clothes they wear all look great, even those white people can't make such exquisite clothes. Daming. Are they from a tribe called Daming? This tribe called Daming must be very powerful. After the spirit cat returned to the tribe with Zhu Shengkai and others, some of the elderly, weak, women, and children left behind in the tribe were curious and somewhat afraid, and secretly looked at Zhu Shengkai and others. More than 50 tall Jinyui were dressed in exquisite flying fish costumes, with embroidered spring knives on their waists. The flying fish patterns embroidered on the clothing and the golden carvings on the spring knife scabbard are incredibly exquisite and full of splendid patterns of civilization, constantly impacting the Native Americans. At this moment, the spirit cat took the initiative to find Zhu Shengkai. Zhu Shengkai looked at the delicate facial features in front of him, wrapped in animal skin, with a beautiful figure and healthy wheat-colored skin, and was slightly stunned. Who is this? It wasn't until Zhu Shengkai saw those lively and bright eyes that he realized that this was the Indian tribal chief who had washed away the oil painting on his body. At the same time, Zhu Shengkai realized that the minister of this Indian tribe, who only had women left, was so beautiful. My name is Lingmao, and I know that the tribe behind you called Daming must be very powerful and able to make such exquisite things. But I have a proposal that is good for both of our tribes. The spirit cat looked at Zhu Shengkai and said. What proposal? Zhu Shengkai asked. I'll marry you, so that our 2 tribes can unite. The spirit cat spoke frankly, although she easily said this sentence, she still blushed a bit. After all, she is not very old. In Zhu Shenkai's view, she is only 16 or 17 years old. Marry me. Zhu Shengkai was taken aback for a moment. How quickly did he reach the point of discussing marriage? Is development a bit too fast? Seeing that Zhu Shengkai did not answer, the spirit cat thought it was because he did not agree. Therefore, the spirit cat said, "We Yoket people have a tradition that powerful warriors can marry many women. Since you are the emperor of the Ming Dynasty." Ling Mao spoke as if she was very unfamiliar and uncomfortable with the word emperor. She continued, "A person as powerful as you can marry again in the future. You don't have to limit yourself to me either. As long as the Ming tribe empire can protect us well in the future." Along the way, the spirit cat kept observing the royal guards. She and other female warriors have come to a conclusion. That is to say, this tribe named Dai Ming must be very powerful. Because of the clothes they are wearing. That flying fish suit, such exquisite clothing, even those white people had never seen it before. As a result, a ranking secretly appeared in the hearts of these female Native Americans. White people can create various things and weapons, while Native Americans cannot defeat white people. And the fact that the Ming people were able to make exquisite clothing that even white people couldn't make, doesn't that mean that the Ming people are above white people? This is a simple association formula, but Zhu Shengkai didn't think as much. Polygamous. The dregs of the corrupt feudal era. But it's really fragrant. For this kind of dross, Zhu Shengkai felt that as the emperor of the Ming Empire, he could withstand this test. Okay, I promise you that from now on, this will be the place where I, Dai Ming, will thrive in Citi America. In the future, there will be a continuous stream of Dai Ming people coming to this place. Don't worry, we are fellow countrymen of the same origin, and in the future, you will also be from Dai Ming. What's your name? As Zhu Shengkai spoke, he asked. Ling Mao. Ling Mao breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. The Ming Dynasty must be very powerful, and it should be a good thing for their tribe to become dependent on and merge with the Ming Dynasty in the future. Okay, Ling Mao, remember my name, Zhu Shengkai. Summon all the members of your tribe, I want to showcase a miracle. Zhu Shengkai smiled. Miracle. The Ling Mao's agile eyes widened slightly. If there is really a miracle displayed, then is what Zhu Shengkai said before true. The Uema tribe has female warriors, with a total of 237 women and children. And Zhu Shengkai's Ming Dynasty, including him, had one emperor, one eunuch, one commander of the genie guard, 70.8 genie guards, and 110 Han people who were originally railway workers and had their braids cut. All put together, the present Dai Ming Empire had a total of 428 people. Under the call of Zhu Shengkai, these people all gathered on the riverbank next to the tribe. This is a river that is about tens of meters wide and not very large. Among the bustling crowd, several Chinese workers with their braids cut off were whispering. Second brother, do we really have to follow these people who claim to be from the Ming Dynasty all the way to the dark? A Chinese worker asked in a low voice. Our braids have all been cut off, and the Qing Dynasty cannot go back. A Chinese worker spoke very desolately. After his braid was cut off at the back of his head, his heart always felt empty and very uncomfortable. Humph, how good Dai Ming is. My dad was forced to keep a braid back then, but now the time has come, I can finally stop wearing a braid. Other Chinese workers have said so. The Ming Dynasty has only been dead for 60 or 70 years now, and its past glory is vividly remembered. Although the Qing Dynasty's enslavement policy has been implemented for 2 or 3 generations, there are still people who remember the Ming Dynasty. Humph, these remnants of the former Ming Dynasty have been around for decades, yet they still have a persistent desire to restore the Ming Dynasty in this Citi America, far from the land of Wanghua. It's just wishful thinking. A Chinese worker who spoke with a slightly literary tone and appeared to have read for a few days sneered and whispered, now we are only temporarily surrendering to thieves. In the future, during the prosperous Kangxi era of the Qing Dynasty, I will be so strong. Although I suffered a loss in the hands of those foreigners and was forced to sign a treaty, I believe that Emperor Kangxi will work hard to govern, and the Qing Dynasty will definitely return to its peak again. At that time, the heavenly soldiers of the Qing Dynasty will arrive. At this moment, suddenly a radiance descended from the sky. Guanghua descended, the sky was in chaos, falling on the river surface and on the riverbank. The next moment, a scene that shocked everyone happened. After the fall of Guanghua, a steel building appeared out of thin air on the riverbank. This building is so tall with several floors, covering a perimeter of tens of meters. Even a portion extends above the river surface. This is a small hydroelectric power plant. Suddenly, these Chinese workers from the Qing Dynasty who had their braids cut off all knelt down. And those Native American women and children were all shocked and wide-eyed, kneeling on the ground. Miracle, it's really a miracle. A miracle has descended on our jumping horse tribe. Emperor Ming is truly a deity descending to the world. There is really a miracle displayed. In this era, nothing virtual is useless, just showing miracles, some people believe. With such a gesture, the indigenous people of the Leaping Horse tribe immediately turned their hearts to the Ming Dynasty. And those Chinese workers who were forced to cut their braids even performed worse than Native Americans. They knelt on the ground, somewhat frightened and surprised, constantly kowtowing to Zhu Shengkai. He kept shouting, "Jade Emperor, your Majesty bless." As a Chinese worker kowtowed, he looked up at the wrinkled Chinese worker he had just seen. However, he saw that this Han Chinese, who seemed to be a loyal citizen of the Qing Dynasty's Citigroup in America, was now frantically kowtowing to Zhu Shengkai. He muttered, "Emperor Ming, bless me, bless me. P.S. Looking for flowers, looking for evaluation tickets." Chapter 8. Lottery. Lottery. Seeking flowers, seeking. You are listening at novel.Audio. P.S. The picture in this chapter is a map of Xinjiang in 1860. The book is now in 1712, and the timeline corresponds to the year 1860. Using this map, we can see how different the population, construction, and industrial scale were between the eastern and central parts of Xinjiang at that time. The entire eastern part had a population of 30 million, accounting for 99.9% of the total population of Xinjiang at that time. The central and western parts are vast and sparsely populated. In the future, these will all be the territory of the Ming Dynasty. Dear fellow Yin people, you are not Native Americans, but those cruel and barbaric white slave owners colonizers who named you. This is not your true identity. Your true identity is our fellow countrymen who came from the Far East to Citi America and share the same roots and origins as us Ming people. Back then, there were two compatriots in our land of Shenzhou who crossed the oceans. One was our ancestors from 15,000 years ago, and the other was our descendants from the Yin and Shang dynasties thousands of years ago. Therefore, it's time to abandon the term Native Americans. You are the people of Yin, the people of Yin Shang. Like us, the great Ming people of Shenzhou, you exist from the same source and origin. You are also our people of the Ming Dynasty. After showcasing the miracle, Zhu Shengkai fired a mouthful and the expressions of these Yin people were excited. The miracle is displayed, and even the Emperor Ming said so. Can there be any falsehood? Such a big miracle is displayed there. Immediately, a large number of Yin people believed this statement. Follow-up tasks. Establish a base and complete it. Reward 1,000 cultural values, 1,000 war values, and X1 lucky draws. Follow-up task 2. Conquer the Yin tribe and complete it. Reward cultural value of 500 and draw X1 times. Zhu Shengkai felt joyful in his heart. Now, he has a cultural value of 2,000, a war value of 1127, and 3 lucky draws. Until now, all the functions of the system have been presented to Zhu Shengkai. Empire Development System, Empire Name. Ming Dynasty, also known as the Fourth Empire of the Ming Dynasty, Emperor of the Empire. Zhu Shengkai imperial population. For 28 empire territory. 1 square kilometer, imperial capital. None, culture value. 2029, war value. 1127, number of lucky draws. 3. Lottery panel system mall technology tree map. The system automatically incorporated the surrounding area of 1 square kilometer into the sphere of influence of the Ming Empire. This is also the initial territory of the Ming Dynasty today. Zhu Shengkai looked at more than 400 people kneeling before him. Men are Han people, women are Yin people. The combination of Han and Yin is the royal way. These are all the people of the Ming Dynasty. Although the population of Daiming is only 500 now. But Zhu Shengkai believes that with the system in place, he can definitely carry forward the Ming Dynasty. Next, it's about development and waiting. After all the remaining royal guards arrive, start expanding outward. Zhu Shengkai knew that in this era, the Mi people who occupied Citi America did not understand any civilization or reason. They understand that there is only one, and that is, the barrel of the gun. It is not feasible to reason with the people of the Mi Federation. These Western civilizations are essentially bloody plunder, cruel and barbaric. For them, only talk in words that they understand. But the matter of fighting is not urgent. Now that Zhu Shengkai has just arrived, at least he needs to develop the chassis. What Zhu Shengkai urgently needs now is still the population. Ling Mao, are there any other Yin tribes around here? After demonstrating the miracle, Zhu Shengkai looked at the spirit cat and asked. The spirit cat looked at Zhu Shengkai with a pair of agile eyes, and its big eyes seemed to be filled with Zhu Shengkai's figure. She said, there are other Yin tribes around us, like us, all belonging to the Yoket tribe, about 3. They all live in the mountains, just like us. The mountain range mentioned here is naturally the coastal mountain range on the west coast. To the east of the coastal mountains is Mount Nevada. They all belong to the Cordillera mountain range that spans from north to south across the central part of Citi America. Zhu Shengkai opened his system map. Just start checking. This is a new feature of the system. According to the system map, Zhu Shengkai discovered that he is currently located in the coastal mountain range on the west coast of California in Citi America, the United States of America. And his own location is close to the later Maifez Los Padres National Park. 200 kilometers south is Los Angeles. About 400 kilometers north is San Jose. And about tens of kilometers north of San Jose is San Francisco. To the east of San Francisco, about 110 kilometers away, is Sacramento, the capital of California. San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles, and Sacramento are undoubtedly the most populous cities in California. The most populous city among the three is San Francisco, with a population of nearly 100,000 during this era. Los Angeles, San Jose, and Sacramento all have populations ranging from 10,000 to tens of thousands. The entire state of California now has a population of approximately 380,000. They all live in cities and towns on the west coast. A considerable number of people are gold miners. Since its establishment, California has attracted a large number of gold miners. The initial capital was San Jose, later changed to Sacramento. 10 years ago, when California was founded, the population of the entire state was only 92,000. However, with the rise of the gold rush, the population has risen to 380,000 in just 10 years. Zhu Shengkai knew that the population of California would continue to grow at an abnormal rate in the future. Nowadays, the entire Mi Federation has a population of over 30 million, while California has only 380,000. In 50 years, it is feared that the population of the entire Mi Federation will soar to 70 million. In just 30 or 40 years, the population of California will also soar by hundreds, or even nearly 10 million. It can be seen from this that whether it is the mid-19th century to the early 20th century in the original world, or the current world, how terrifying the upward trend of the Mi Federation is. Although the current world history is different from the past, the general principles are still similar. Mi Federation will still develop rapidly, but this is based on the absence of Zhu Shengkai. Now it's different. Zhu Shengkai is here. The Ming Empire has arrived. In Zhu Shengkai's vision, it is currently not appropriate to have a conflict with California. After all, the population of Dai Ming is too small now. At present, Dai Ming should temporarily move towards the east. Absorb more surrounding Ying tribes and develop population. At the same time, maintaining good relations with California for the time being, it is best to obtain a port, obtain ships, cross the Pacific, and sail far to the Qing Dynasty. Pull people. Although the current Qing Dynasty is known as the prosperous era of Kangxi. However, this prosperous era was fed with increased production of sweet potatoes. Countless Han people live in the midst of water and fire, with only sweet potatoes to eat. During Kangxi and Kangxi, they ate bran and drank thin. This is a prosperous era of rare bran. Countless Han people are waiting for the Ming Dynasty to save them. Zhu Shengkai thought this way and opened the lottery panel of the system. He has 3 more lucky draws left. Opening the lottery panel, a virtual panel appeared in front of Zhu Shengkai. There is a wheel above. It's similar to the ordinary roulette draw in later generations. There are 6 areas above. 6 regions represent each other. Population, architecture, military, technology, agriculture and industry, money. What you draw is random. Start the lottery. Zhu Shengkai used up the first lottery opportunity. The pointer on the wheel in front of me immediately began to rotate. Population. Population. What Zhu Shengkai really wants now is people. Quickly, the pointer stopped. It did not stop at the population level, but at the agricultural and industrial sector. Congratulations to Your Majesty for obtaining 1 million kilograms of various grains. 900,000 kilograms of rice and 100,000 kilograms of various meats, grain. Zhu Shengkai was pleasantly surprised to receive food instead of population. Rice and meat are available, and if we allocate 2 kilograms of grain per person per day, including the number of genie guards we will receive in the future. The population of 1378 people in Dai Ming is enough to eat for a year now. Ha ha ha. Continue the lottery. There are still 2 lucky draws. The second lottery is starting. The result of this time made Zhu Shengkai hold his breath directly, a burst of ecstasy. Chapter 9. 10,000-ton oil tanker. The arsenal is moving. You are listening at novel full.audio. Congratulations to Your Majesty for obtaining a 10,000-ton cargo ship, a 10,000-ton cargo ship. Zhu Shengkai was first pleasantly surprised, but soon he suppressed the excitement. Even if he has a 10,000-ton cargo ship now, he cannot afford to operate it. It's simple, there's no oil. This type of cargo ship is usually a fuel guzzler, and the current Dai Ming cannot afford to operate it. However, although I can't afford it now, it doesn't mean I won't be able to afford it in the future. After seeing this 10,000-ton cargo ship, Zhu Shengkai had a related plan in his mind. The cargo ship will be temporarily stored in the system reward space, and Your Majesty can materialize and retrieve it at any time. Zhu Shengkai sorted his mind and there was a third lottery. He began his third lottery with full expectations. Soon, the lottery wheel began its third rotation. The pointer constantly rotates on the 6 sectors of population, architecture, military, technology, agriculture, and money. The final pointer slowly stopped in the agricultural industry column. Congratulations to Your Majesty for obtaining the direct realization of the textile factory, building. What's drawn from the lottery are all good things. Zhu Shengkai sighed slightly. After drawing, Zhu Shengkai surrounded the area. Surrounded by such a primitive tribe of the Ying people. Although I have a system in place, some industrial buildings can be directly obtained from the system. But the most basic livelihood, housing construction, still needs to be built by people. Zhu Shengkai pondered and then called Wei Xian. Long live, sir. Wei Xian looked at Zhu Shengkai with excitement in his eyes. God bless the bright future. Wei Xian never expected that the current Wansui Yi of the Ming Dynasty would carry a miracle. It is truly a divine mandate. Bless me, Ming. Wei Daban, I have temporarily appointed you as the Minister of Works attendant, to bring some genie guards and recruit those Chinese workers into the Ministry of Works as workers. You have cut down the surrounding trees and must first build the house. Zhu Shengkai faced Wei Xiandao. Servants take orders. Wei Xian felt happy in his heart, indicating that he still had a place in the hearts of Wansui Yi. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it. He joyfully took Zhu Shengkai's instructions and went. Your Majesty, Wei Xian has something to do, so what should I do? Wu Ji also approached Zhu Shengkai and asked. You are still in charge of the military, Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Guards. In the coming days, there will be about 1,000 more members of the Royal Guard support. Although we don't have anything now, the framework of the military needs to be established first. The barrel of the gun is more important than anything else. Zhu Shengkai faced Wu Zhidao. Wei Chen, take orders. Wu Ji knelt on one knee. Currently, there is a shortage of manpower. Zhu Shengkai summoned the 200 brocade guards that could be summoned. The royal guards did not directly descend like divine weapons, but walked out of the forest in a reasonable way, as if they had traveled a long distance. They are also pushing large carts one after another. On top of the cart, everything is loaded with grain. This 1 million pounds of grain also appeared in a reasonable way. Subsequently, Zhu Shengkai revealed the textile factory and the fully automated production line of the Lee Enfield rifle. To Zhu Shengkai's surprise, after this moment, one person walked out of each of the two buildings. One male and one female. Men are handsome, women are pretty. The technical supervisor of the rifle factory, Li Si, is visiting His Majesty. Textile factory supervisor, little girl Jiang Yi, see Your Majesty. A man and a woman all bowed in front of Zhu Shengkai. Zhu Shengkai nodded slightly and said to the second person, Li Si, how many raw materials are there in the rifle factory now? How many weapons can be manufactured after work starts? Both the rifle production line and the textile factory are basically fully automated, with initial raw materials included. Your Majesty, the raw materials in the factory can now produce 700 rifles and 350,000 bullets. Li Si replied. 700 Lee Enfield rifles, with 350,000 rounds of ammunition, which means each rifle comes with 500 rounds. Zhu Shengkai pondered slightly and said, let's start at full speed. The water conservancy and power plant will operate automatically, and the electricity used should be enough to support the operation of the rifle factory. How long will it take to manufacture it? Your Majesty, although the factory is an automated factory, it also requires someone to take care of it. Please assign 20 members of the Royal Guards to Wei Chen. Wei Chen will train them slightly to maintain the operation of the machines, and within 2 days, they will be able to manufacture the weapons required by Your Majesty. Li Sideo. Zhu Shengkai nodded slightly and said, I will give you 50 genie guards and train them a little. In 1 day, I will see those weapons. Wei Chen takes orders. Li Si immediately bowed and said. Jiang Yi. Zhu Shengkai looked at the beautiful woman again. The little girl is here. How many fabrics are available for the textile factory to start production? If we were to make a military uniform, military hat, top, pants, coat, boots, armed belt according to my figure, how many sets could we produce together? Zhu Shengkai stood in place, with a straight figure, looking at Jiang Yi. If all the fabric and leather in the textile factory are used up, Jiang Yimei looked at Zhu Shengkai with beautiful eyes and quickly calculated the data in her heart. Then she said, if we were to make it according to your Majesty's tall and straight figure, using all the high-quality fabrics, leather, rubber and other raw materials, we could produce about 3,500 sets. Zhu Shengkai nodded slightly. It seemed that there were indeed quite a few raw materials in the textile factory. How many people do you need me to send to you? How many royal guards do you need? Zhu Shengkai asked again. Jiang Yi covered her mouth with a smile and looked at the bystander, saying, Your Majesty, there's no need for the royal guards. Don't you think there are many young women and children on the other side? They're enough. Zhu Shengkai followed Jiang Ye's gaze and saw the female warriors, elderly and weak women and children of the jumping horse tribe. He looked a little embarrassed, yes, almost forgot that the textile factory is no different from others. The machine operation is very simple, and women, the elderly, and children are capable of handling it. Zhu Shengkai said, okay, they can be mobilized as you please. However, I need to first talk to the leader of the Leaping Horse tribe, Ling Mao. Although their tribe has been incorporated into our Ming Dynasty, we still need to talk. Subsequently, Zhu Shengkai summoned the spirit cat again and gathered all the people in the entire territory. Gather here right at the entrance of the power plant. Wei Xian over there has already gathered 110 former Chinese laborers. The Chinese workers have no resistance to letting them work, after all, they are used to the hardships in their daily lives. Under the command of Zhu Shengkai, the Chinese workers also gathered at the entrance of the power plant. Zhu Shengkai looked at the crowded crowd in front of him, and now there were over 600 people. Gathering together is also a vast and dark area, crowded with people. P.S. Looking for flowers, looking for evaluation tickets.